Cool.
Dave's doing it.
Oh, well done, Dave.
I couldn't work it.
Mine's Billy, I'm an addict.
Hi,
What a lovely preamble that is. I like the way that's laid out. Very lovely. Wow, step 6. I've got a pad here that Glenn and I went through back in 2010 when I first did my step 6. And Glenn was a brilliant sponsor. He helped me a lot. And I thought I'd read some of it back. And I read some of it before I left. And there was a bit in there, sorry, I might get a bit emotional. I lost a family pet recently and it's still quite painful. And when I get in touch with emotions, I can't help but well up. But I'll try not to swear either. But I can't guarantee that. One of my character defects was anger. Well, it still is. You know, I can lose my rag quite quickly over the stupidest of things. Like if I can't get a fucking wet wipe out of a packet, it goes out the window. Do you know what I mean? I just snap like that. Done. But I had a situation. I was away with my wife on holiday. We had this little poxy cheap hire car. Didn't swear. And it wouldn't go up this mountain, right? And I was getting me up with this car, and Sue got the brunt of my anger. And she was in my step 8, and I did a step 9 with it, but just driving it today, I thought I'd ring her again. And I rang her again and reminded her of what a knob I was, do you know what I mean? And she was all right about it. She said, I'll always forgive her, she said. She worshipped the ground I walked on, this woman. And had I not worked this step with my sponsor, I would never have realised that certain things need to be done to clear the wreckage from my past, right? So I'm just going to read the last bit out of this, right? This is what I did with Glenn. And the last bit I wrote on step 6. I'm heading in the right direction in capital letters, right? Indifference is the opposite to love. I will rebel. I will ask for willingness in my prayers. I'm right where I am supposed to be, considering the effort that I have made. That's a very important thing. The effort I make is commensurate with how I feel. If I do horrible things, I'm going to feel horrible. Swapped a swear word there. It is no longer about drugs or my past. This is about my willingness to get better, changing my old behaviours for new, healthy ones. I can do it with my higher power. Please may I be blessed with your willingness. And that's a big change from when I was using, do you know what I mean? This was the 30th of the 9th, 2010, I wrote this. And he said in the reading that willingness is a spiritual principle of step 6, you know, and there's others, there's honesty as well, you know. Had I not been fearless and thorough in my 4 and 5, you know, step 6 wouldn't have really fucking had a good... I swore, that's not bad. 4 minutes, not bad. Had I not been fearless and thorough in my step 4 and 5, well, all my steps, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 up to doing 6, it wouldn't have had the benefit, you know, I wouldn't have got the understanding that I get from it. You know, I think there's a process that happens when I get a question that goes in my ear, or through my eyes when I read it off the page, and it goes around in my head, and then it comes down my arm, and then it goes through a pen, and then it goes onto a page. And if I'm fearless and thorough, what usually gets written down is the truth. Yeah. You know, not what I make up, not what I think should be heard, not what I want you to think of me, but what actually happens. Do you know what I mean? And without that, you ain't got a chance. You know, if you can't look at the truth, you're not dealing with anything. You know, I'm still hiding, you know. I'm sorry, I'm looking at you. I'm saying you, I don't mean you, but I mean us is what I mean. And, you know, these steps, they give us the ability, each previous step gives us the ability to do the next one. Do you know what I mean? If we do it properly. And we can do it improperly. I've done stuff improperly. You know, I'm not a spiritual guru. I'm not here to tell you how to do it either. I'm here to share with you how I done it, you know, and that's what got me to where I am today. And that's not to say I'm any better in a better place than you are today, but it's commensurate with the effort I put in to working these steps. Do you know what I mean? The more effort I put in, what was it Paul used to say? The harder I work, the luckier I become. And that's the same with this program, you know. The more effort I put into it, the more freedom I have. But freedom isn't free. It comes at a cost. And usually, the cost for us in doing the first sort of 6-7 steps is clearing the wreckage of our past, you know. Well, admitting it first, you know, clearing its 8 and 9. But they're such beautiful things, you know. It's easy for me to say that sitting there having done them a few times. You know how fucking easy it is and how lovely life is. You know, shit. I've had the toughest year of my recovery so far. You know, I've had an easy ride really up until fucking summer last year, and it's been tough. And I've lent into the program rather than leaning away like I did when I was first clean. Like this woman who I phoned on, my first wife, who I phoned on the way here when I got here. Sorry. I was 5 years clean. No, I was 6 years clean, I beg your pardon. And we was on holiday in Florida. It was my belly button birthday. I hadn't been to a meeting for a year. And she said, "Why don't you have a beer, Billy?" She never knew me when I was using. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a fucking good idea. I'll have a beer." So I had 2 beers, and we all know the story. Well, we don't all know it, but I'm a bit fed up with saying it. But what happened then was my character defects started taking over my relationships with her, work, fucking society, friendships. My character defects were in charge, and that's why it's good that I try and work on this stuff now. Because if I let my character defects take over now, I'm not scared of relapsing. It's possible I'll relapse, but I'd rather fucking die. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather top myself than go back to that shit life. I mean, my using wasn't that bad. I could have carried on physically for another fucking 20 years, probably. But spiritually, the emptiness was fucking awful. You know, it was just devoid of any meaning. And it says here, when we do this stuff, our life becomes meaningful. Do you know what I mean? And I loved a bit about it saying, you know, we get our humanity back. You know, I wasn't as bad as I thought I was, and I wasn't as good as I thought I was either. Do you know what I mean? I was just another human being with addiction problems. And another thing I like about working the steps is it says about having a dictionary, so you can look up words that you understand, but if you know the meaning properly, you get a deeper understanding. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not thick, but I left school at 15. Didn't take any exams. I can be stupid sometimes when I let my thinking get away with me. And there's a couple of words here that jumped out. Sincerely, it's an adjective. I don't know what an adjective is. It just says it here. Do you know what I mean? 1, not hypocritical or deceitful. Genuine, sincere regret. So when it said about sincerely, it was in the reading. How sincerely we work this step will be proportionate to our desire for change. So there was another word there. I know proportionate is like a portion, but I looked it up and it says another adjective. I don't know what an adjective is. Being in proper proportion to make proportionate. And desire, now this is a weird one, because I always thought desire was, well anyway, I'll read it. It's a verb. I should have asked you, right? Hands up who knows what it is, but it's a verb, right? I didn't know that. I don't know what a verb is. 1, to wish or long for, crave. 2, to request, to ask for. 3, a wish or longing. 4, an expressed wish, request. 6, a person or thing that is desired. 5, sexual appetite, right? And it comes from 13th century Old French. I didn't have to go into that. But you see what I mean? When I get a word that I think I know, but then you look deeper into it, it gives us such a wider fucking understanding of what it's about, you know. And I needed that, you know. He said about having a personality transplant, and it's true in a way, but my personality is still here. That there's still bits of me that were here when I was using, you know, and that's a bit of my humanity as well, and that's all right. And my character defects are still here, you know. I can still get angry with a packet of wet wipes, for fuck's sake. But they're not debilitating like they used to be. They're not like I need to fucking use all night because I did something stupid anymore. Do you know what I mean? They don't keep me from going out the door. You know, I just get up and get on with it these days. And I've been fortunate that the reason that is because I came back. You know, I had a 9-year relapse. I relapsed in 1998 and I came back in 2007. And I was determined this time to, I think one of the reasons I relapsed, well, I stopped going to meetings, I stopped singing songs, but I had this thing with Step 3. I had a lovely sponsor. He was a big burly man. He used to like pick up paving slabs like this, like they were a fucking spunky sock, do you know what I mean? And just lay them down like that. He was just so manly. And anyway, we come to Step 3 and he said, right, we're going to get on our hands and knees and pray. I'm like, I had no experience of that emotional intimacy and it freaked me out. I don't think it was any coincidence that the next step was number 4. Why I stopped working steps. But anyway, when I came back in 2007, I met Glenn and I asked him to be my sponsor. And I knew that if this stuff was to work, I needed to get over that shit. Do you know what I mean? And grow with it rather than hide from it like I've been doing with a mask or with humour. You know, and I think over the years, Glenn and I grew up a lot together through doing this stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it's been life-saving. You know, it's changed my life. I'm not a using addict anymore. And you just consider that I'm not a using addict anymore. If you say that to Joe Public out on the street, they're like, what? You know, once a junkie, always a junkie. That's not fucking true. We get given a gift. But gifts are valuable and we have to look after them, you know. I can't just now take my foot off the gas and go, yeah, all right, I've got fucking whatever years clean and I don't need to do this stuff. I need to do this stuff daily, you know. Yesterday's shower don't keep me clean. I used to do stuff every day and it's not a lot, do you know what I mean? It's not a lot of stuff I have to do. I do my Just for Today reading before I get out of bed, so the vulture at the end of the bed can't call me names as I'm going to the bathroom. I have a conscious contact with God during the day, and that's Mother Nature. You know, I've just spent the weekend in the field in Suffolk in my caravan with other like-minded people, and there was this dragonfly that kept coming to my caravan, and then it landed on my book I was reading, and then it landed on the backgammon set, then it was on my fucking foot, and then on my knee. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is my higher power, thank you so much. And that's my conscious contact with God, because I struggle with meditation. I always fall asleep when I try and meditate the traditional way, is concentrating on breathing. It's like, well, I'll end up concentrating on my snoring, do you know what I mean? Or the whole room will, anyway. So I do that. And then the last thing I do other stuff. I've got sponsees, I've got a sponsor. And the last thing I do when my head hits the pillow is I do a simple Step 3 prayer, you know. God, thank you for another clean day. Take my will, which is what I think, and my life, which is what I do. Guide me in my recovery, and this step talks about being guided. Guide me in my recovery and show me how to live. And I always try and end it on thinking about someone else. I'm estranged from my sister in a minute, but her cancer's just come back, and I feel really shit about it. So I'm praying for her to make a full recovery. Do you know what I mean? Just recently, and if there's anything shitty in the news, if a kid's gone missing or, you know, there's some tragedy, I'll pray for families and stuff like that. I try and end my day thinking about someone else rather than thinking about myself. And that's all I do. And that's not a lot. And look what I've got. I've got peace of mind, usually. Do you know what I mean? Not all the time, you know, because I'm a human as well. But if we work this stuff, we get better. And if we continue to work it, we stay better. So if you're new around, don't be put off by the Goddy word. You know, it's just a word, it's 3 letters, G-O-D, great outdoors, group of druggies.
Good orderly direction.
My favourite, who can guess my favourite? Hands up. Gift of desperation. That's what brought me here. God brought me here. My gift of desperation brought me here. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thanks, Billy.